I'm Michael Willis here with another Moments Off the Mat. I'm here with two-time Iowa All-American, Michael Kemerer. Mike, how are you?
I'm good. What's going on?
Not too much, man. So big news in Iowa. You're coming back for a sixth year. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
When did you officially find out?
I believe it was the end of last week I found out, and then I put it out there. I think it was Sunday now. So
Yeah. What was your initial reaction to the news? I assume it was extremely positive.
yeah, it was good. Just talking with the staff and everything, I was pretty confident that I was going to get it. Just felt like I fit all the criteria, but you never know. And when the decision's in someone else's hands, you never know for sure. So it's good to just have that reassurance, and now it's done with, and now I can focus on moving forward.
Did you know in the beginning of the season that you were going to be applying for the sixth year? Like it's not a spur of the moment thing. Like that's something you guys had planned out, right?
Yeah, for sure. I pretty much knew, whenever I was going through that whole process that I was going to be applying for the medical red shirt. And then, yeah, it's always been a part of the plan, really.
Gotcha. Did you have a backup plan in case you didn't get that sixth year?
Honestly, if that would have happened, my plan would still have been to wrestle, and I guess you would just move on to the next part with the freestyle circuit and all that. But I was pretty confident that I was going to get it, so I didn't really let the possibility that I wasn't going to get it creep into my mind. But if that would have happened, then yeah, I would have had a plan to keep wrestling.
Gotcha. So you do intend to give freestyle a go once you graduate?
Yeah, that's the plan. Right now I'm focused on this last season I'll have, and reaching my goals in the NCAA, and then after that, transition to the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, and getting into the freestyle scene.
Do you have your sights on an international weight yet? Corresponding with your college weight, you'd be at 79, but obviously not an Olympic weight class right now.
Yeah, for now, it'd probably be that 79 kilograms. Like I said, in the near future, more focused on the college stuff. So I guess, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But yeah, for now, it seems like it works out. It's the exact same weight. So
yeah. So academically, how does a sixth year work for you?
So for me, I actually graduated in 4 years. So I got my undergrad in finance. Then we have a master's in science of finance program at Iowa. So I started that this past fall, and so I'm already doing that. And so that ends next spring. So I'll just stay in that program, and, academically it doesn't really change. I'm just already in the program. So I'll just finish that up next spring.
Gotcha. So you missed the entirety of last season. What was it like having to ride the pine and, watching your teammates go out and wrestle every week and not being able to participate in that? And then what was it like coming back this year and, being able to get out there again?
Yeah, having to watch was tough. It's just a different perspective, especially because a lot of time when I'm watching that, I'm in a portion of my recovery where, I'm not wrestling, and, I'm focused on, my mind's focused on getting better, but it's just in a lot different way than whenever I'm in the lineup and I'm wrestling and competing. So it was different. I try to be a coach and, coach some of my teammates and help them out and just learn. That's a different way to learn, I think, whenever you're watching, and, you can see the sport from a different angle, and you can still grow as a wrestler, and I could, help cheer them on and watch them, chase their goals, achieve their goals. And then, I think just coming back, then it just makes you appreciate it more. You're just thankful to compete, and maybe it just changes your perspective a little bit. It's like, when something seems bad or something, you're like, hey, at least I have this opportunity to wrestle. I'm not sitting in the stands watching other guys at my weight or whatever. And it's like, I don't really have anything I can do. So it just gives you that appreciation for the sport and just being able to compete.
Yeah. And coming back from an injury is tough, mentally, physically, obviously. Was there a moment when you said, like, okay, I'm back now. Like, I feel good. I feel confident in my body, and I'm ready to go?
I would say maybe a little bit. I think the biggest thing is just we just had certain goals we had to hit and like steps we had to take coming back. I mean, first it's like stance in motion, and then you start drilling, and the workouts are a certain way, and you just keep building stuff and building stuff. So I don't really know if there was like a moment that I can specifically remember, but I just remember, when I would hit those check marks and reach each objective, it felt good to keep progressing. And then, obviously you get to the point where you're out there competing and wrestling Carver and wrestling in front of the fans and stuff. That's when you're in a good spot and you're back to where you need to be.
Yeah. So obviously tough year for everybody. No NCAA tournament. What was your initial reaction when you heard that?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough because, it all seemed to happen pretty quickly. And, I felt good individually about, the next upcoming weeks. And I know we felt really good as a team about our chances and everything. But, so yeah, at first, it hits and it's not fun, but, we're pretty big on bouncing back and moving forward. And that's kind of, what we had to do. I mean, you really have no other choice. So really just that was the biggest reaction is once you get past that initial shock, it's just like, hey, all right, what's the next thing? What can I do to keep getting better? And how can we grow from this and get better as a team?
Yeah. So at the time, you didn't know whether or not you were getting your sixth year back. I mean, you obviously said you tried not to let that even creep into your mind, but was there any sort of like, oh my gosh, I could be done at Iowa?
Maybe a little bit, but like I said, you just try not to really go there. I mean, sometimes it's easy to like feel bad for yourself or sulk about something, but it doesn't really do you any good. I mean, you got to move forward and you're going to have to move on. Even if that had been my last year, I would have had to move on from it eventually. So, why wait? Why not just, start moving in the right direction as soon as you can? So it might have cost a little bit, but I was just like, hey, I know my career is not done. I know I'm going to, I still have more wrestling ahead of me. And whether that's, in the Iowa singlet or whether it's freestyle or whatever it may be, I knew I still had wrestling to do. So you can always, have some comfort in that.
So coming back from injury, you bumped up to 174. You were at 157 your first 2 years in the lineup. Obviously, the bump made a lot of sense for you guys lineup-wise, and you had a fantastic season. So it made sense for you personally. What was it like, and was there an adjustment to the new weight class?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that first off season, after I wrestled 157, it was like 2018 Nationals. I knew there was definitely gonna be a weight change coming, and I just ate and lifted and wrestled, and the weight came on pretty quickly, and I felt good. And so, maybe a little bit of an adjustment. Just you're heavier, and maybe I was carrying around a little extra muscle, so you just got to get used to wrestling with that. And we wrestle a little bit bigger guys, but ultimately I'm confident in, my coaches and them putting me in the right position. If they would have thought that I wasn't ready for it, I wasn't built for the weight or something, they would have had a talk with me. And, they saw the same things I was seeing, that, wrestling's wrestling. And with the new weight class, you just, you take the same stuff you had at the lighter weight and you just maybe tweak it a tiny bit, but ultimately wrestling is wrestling. And, it's worked out. I feel good at the new weight and I feel comfortable. So it's been good.
Yeah, you didn't look small at the weight class. Did you feel like you still had your horsepower and your strength when you were wrestling the bigger guys?
Yeah, I did. I felt strong. I felt really good. It definitely feels like, when you fill out and you're wrestling guys that size all the time, you're used to it really. And it just becomes normal. Now if I went back and wrestled a 157 pounder, wrestle with some of the smaller guys in the room I used to wrestle with, it's like, it kind of feels weird wrestling them now. You just get used to wrestling with the guys at your new weight and stuff. So I felt strong. I felt fast, and I've been feeling good. I just got to keep building off that now.
Yeah. Coming into the program, all those years ago, do you think anyone would have predicted that Caleb Young would stay at 157 and you'd be up at 174?
I don't know. Probably not. I don't think we even predicted that. yeah, he spent some time up at 174, and I came in here as a 49 pounder. So yeah, that's the thing. You try to plan this stuff out, but it just ends up, guys just find their way, and it ends up working out.
Yeah, you had a pretty good rivalry in Pennsylvania with Vincenzo Joseph too, and that was a match that no one ever got to see in college because you missed him. You went up over 165 into 174, but I think that was one that a rivalry that some people had pegged, and he didn't end up at 149 or 157 either. So it's kind of funny how that stuff works out sometimes.
Yeah, and neither of us, we couldn't keep our weight down. We just kept eating too much and having to move up.
Yeah. So going into the tournament this year, you're coming in as the number 2 seed. Your only loss of the season was to Mark Hall. You also beat him at Carver. So and obviously the NCAA tournament, anything can happen. Upsets can happen all the time. But were you looking forward to a potential third match, a rubber match with Mark?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was looking forward to it. I say it a lot, but we just really like wrestling the best guys, and he's a very tough opponent. I mean, his credentials speak for itself, and I like going up and wrestling those best guys. So I was looking forward to it, but at the same time, I was ready to take it one match at a time. I mean, my freshman year, I was the 2 seed, and I got pinned in the quarterfinals, and it's the national tournament. Upsets happen. Guys come ready to go, and there were some other guys in the bracket that wanted to say in that. So for me, it was taking it one match at a time, and I was looking forward to that rematch, but I couldn't just put myself there. I had to earn it. I had to wrestle every day and do the right things every single day, and get to that last day, that last night. And yeah, I was excited for that rematch. So
with Hall graduating this year, is there a little bit of disappointment that you're not going to have the opportunity, at least in folk style, to have it out one more time?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah, but at the same time, like I said, kind of moving forward now and focusing on what's next. I mean, there's going to be other guys at the weight. They're going to be tough. There's going to be new guys. There's going to be the same guys. So, I don't like to think about the past too much because, there's guys that are training, and, I might have even more of a target on my back this year just because of my success, last year and the past couple of years. So I'm more thinking about that and thinking about the guys I'm going to be wrestling this year. But, maybe we'll wrestle again in freestyle or something like that.
So coming into the year, I think Iowa was probably considered the favorite. And then as the year went on, you guys really sort of took the driver's seat. And by NCAA time, you guys were the heavy favorite. What was that like compared to previous years when you kind of been chasing, Penn State? And you've been in the mix, but not the front runner.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a little bit different. There were a lot of high expectations going back to pretty much as soon as the season before ended. I mean, people were talking about what our lineup was going to look like. And so I think the biggest thing was just, you got to stay grounded whenever all the pundits and everybody are saying how good your team's going to be. And it's a lot of fun, but at the same time, a lot of things got to go right. You got to stay healthy. I mean, we've had injuries before. You got to stay ready every single week because every single team is going to give you their best effort. Every individual is going to give you their best effort. So you just really have to be dialed in and ready to go at, each week. And that starts really when you're preparing in the off season. So that was a difference. The other thing I said is, when you wrestle for Iowa, I feel like guys always kind of have an extra motivation to beat you for, whatever reason. So, you always got to be ready for that.
Yeah. Would you say that the atmosphere was any different being the front runners? I mean, obviously, you got to stay grounded and keep your eyes on the prize. But, what with the NCAA tournament coming up, how is the atmosphere in the room different, if it was?
I think you just probably have, and I mean, we always consider ourselves like, that everybody can contend for a national title, but, you just have, in the room, especially those 10 guys and even the guys that are in the room but maybe are in the lineup, they know like hey, we're getting each of these guys ready to win an individual national title. And we have 10 guys that can win a national title in a week. And there's a lot of excitement, a lot of energy. I think guys are really embracing it. You hear about people, maybe they're like highly ranked or predicted to win, and, people put pressure on themselves or something. I didn't really get a sense of that. I sensed a lot of guys that were really excited to compete. And even when we heard that it was going to be without fans, a lot of guys were really like, hey, we could set history in a different way, win it in an empty football stadium. That's pretty unique. People remember that for a long time. So there were a lot of guys that were really excited to get out there, and, it didn't happen, but, we were ready to go.
Yeah. So again, not to be too much of a pundit like you just mentioned, but you're only losing one starter next year. Pat Lugo, obviously a phenomenal wrestler, so it is a big loss, but that lineup is still going to be pretty salty, and most likely there's going to be someone pretty tough. What do you think the expectations for next year's team are?
Honestly, it's pretty similar to this year. I guess, a goal we can set is to be better than we were this year, and win by wider margins, and maybe win Big Tens and Nationals by even wider margins. And that's easy to say now sitting here in April, but we got to put the work in, and we got to be ready to go every week. And, when it's time to compete, whenever all this dies down and whatever, if there's a modified schedule or it's the same schedule, it's just going to be about being excited to compete and competing hard, and knowing we're going to have that target on our back and embracing it, all that stuff we say. And, but it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be in this program right now. And the way things are trending is awesome.
Yeah. And speaking of that excitement, you guys also seem to be a pretty tight-knit group. Seems like you like to have some fun. I know Nelson Brands has a couple TikTok videos out featuring the team. Can you talk a little bit about the camaraderie and, what it's like being part of this specific team?
Yeah, it's great. I know people talk about it a lot because it's pretty visible, like during matches and even, outside of matches. It's just credit to, a lot of the guys. There's just a lot of really good guys that, love to wrestle, love to compete, and then they're just all around good dudes off the mat. And it starts from the coaching staff and administration all the way down. And it's just a good group of guys, and it's a lot of really like-minded people. And, we all have a pretty high standard, and, you just get along with people that have the same interests and standards as you do. I guess that's a big part of it probably, but we have a lot of fun, and we hold each other accountable, but then we have a really good time. And it's been really fun because, you can really get invested and get behind your teammates whenever you're, with them all the time and hanging out all the time. So it's been fun.
Yeah. So you actually, when you entered college, Franklin Regional had a crop of guys, going Division I, some really, really tough wrestlers. Have you, talked with any of those guys since, I know Josh Shields and Josh Maruka, their careers are college careers, at least, are over. Have you been in touch with any of those guys this year?
Yeah, a little bit. Just every once in a while. It's good to keep in touch and just see how things are going, and even talking to my coaches every once in a while from high school, just whenever, whether it's just, something random or whatever, but it's good. We had a fun group and a fun team, and, we made a lot of history and records, that team, and it's fun to look back on that. And, I was just lucky to be a part of something like that. I've been a part of some good teams, and, it makes wrestling even more fun because you got the individual aspect, but then when you got some teammates that are achieving their goals next to you, it's pretty fun.
Yeah. So now that you've been with the Hawkeye Wrestling program for about 5 years, can you give us some insight to maybe, the culture, but on a level where, just a fan or an observer wouldn't really understand, something that maybe you glean a little bit more just because you live it day in and day out?
Yeah, I would just say, the biggest thing, I think, especially as a fan, I know even growing up, you kind of get like these like cookie cutter images of different programs, like this program's this way and this program's that way. And, if you wrestle here, you wrestle a certain way. If you wrestle there, you wrestle a certain way, all that stuff. And I just think the biggest thing is our coaching staff and this program's really big on what's best for the individuals and fitting the individual needs of someone. And, maybe my needs and Spencer's needs and Cassiope's needs are all completely different. And, they really are good at doing what's best for each individual guy, whether it's training differently or eating differently or whatever. I mean, there's just so many different aspects that go into it, but each guy's kind of what makes them tick. It's different for different people, and they do a really good job of, finding your strengths, your weaknesses, and, how they need to coach you. And they do a really good job of, coaching to the individual. And I think that's a big thing I've learned, even more just from being here and, realizing, how they've kind of molded to me and made me the best wrestler I can be and best person I can be specifically to my needs. So it's pretty cool.
Was that something that you expected coming out of high school?
I think I kind of expected it, but probably not just to the extent that it's been. They just, they're there for you no matter what in a bunch of different ways. And, that's good to have in coaches.
Yeah. So besides improving as a wrestler, what do you think is the biggest change or difference in yourself from when you arrived on campus to where you are now?
I'd say the biggest thing is probably just having like 100% accountability and ownership of everything, and being able to realize that a lot more things are in my control than maybe people realized. And, just sometimes you think of stuff and you're like, oh, well, that's not my fault. That's not my control. But you really do have a lot of control of a lot of things, and just taking ownership of your life and your career and, the good things and the bad things. I think that's helped me a lot, just to, when you can put it on yourself and take control of those things, then it help you to grow a lot, and you can accomplish a lot, through your hard work and just whatever it takes.
Going along with that, do you think that there was any sort of transition from, being a talented underclassman on the team to one of like the senior veteran leaders of the team?
Yeah, I think I've just had a lot of good examples in front of me. When I was a younger guy on the team, and there were guys like, Gilman and Clark and Brooks, and all those guys, and Nate Burak, Sorensen, all those guys. I've had so many good role models, up through the Hawkeye Wrestling Club when I was here, and, it was Metcalf and Dennis and Ramos and those guys. And so just I've had so many good examples, and up through the coaching staff too, that just learning that I can get a lot out of myself and get better while bringing guys along with me. And that's how you get a really solid program, I think, is as you're coming up, you're becoming a leader. And then, these freshmen are coming in and they're figuring out fast, and they're leaders, and they're 18, 19 years old. And so I think just having those good examples, and it spreads around to the whole program, really.
Yeah. So the immediate future is still in a little bit of a flux, but what is your summer going to look like? What is your preparation for next year going to look like? Is it going to be the same thing that it's been, every year since you've got to the program, or, do you have something different since this is your last year?
Yeah. Well, I think right now a lot of that stuff's up in the air. For now it's just, I'm taking it day by day with all this stuff going on, and, still getting good workouts in that I can do, and, taking care of all that. And, but once things start clearing up, I think it'll probably be pretty similar to, past years. It all really just depends on the current state, everything going on, but just having a mind to get better every day and building that all the way until really next March and through then.
All right. Awesome. Well, thanks for your time, Michael. Appreciate having you on Moments Off the Mat. Stay well.
Thanks.